Everyone wants to get faster, but getting faster is not an easy task to do. There's so many different variables that go into it, such as the right training program, the right exercises, how many times we work out a week, or should I be doing this or that? Should I be eating this and that? For this video, we're gonna keep it simple. So I've chosen the top 5 exercises, in my opinion, that directly correlate to getting faster. Before we get to the exercises, let's talk about a few things that are very important when it comes to lifting weights in order to get faster. The first thing is velocity, which just means speed. When you're lifting weights, in order to get faster, you actually have to move the weights fast. Why? The reason for this is because when you're sprinting, everything is moving fast. There's a high level of velocity going on. So you have to do the same thing in the gym. So when you watch me do the exercises, you'll notice that I'm doing some of them very fast. However, when you do lift the weights fast, you also have to do them in a safe manner. Another thing is you want to be lifting 60 to 70% of your max, and you don't want to go to failure. Failure means you're slowing down, and that's not the goal when it comes to increasing speed and explosiveness. Another thing you'll notice in my exercises is that I'm doing a lot of single leg movements. Why is that? The reason for that is because you want to try to imitate sprinting as much as you can, and when you sprint, you're going off one leg at a time. So your goal is to make sure you're increasing individual leg strength and power. Something to keep in mind is that whenever you do an exercise that requires either both arms or both legs, the stronger side tends to do just a little bit more than the weaker side. So the reason for doing single leg workouts or exercises is to make sure you balance things out. So finally, here we are. Let's get into the first exercise. The first exercise is high knees with bands around your feet. This exercise is great for increasing the overall strength in the hip flexors. Now, the hip flexors are a group of muscles that are very, very vital when it comes to increasing speed. Let's take a look at this research. This research shows that the pause muscle, which is one of the muscles in the hip flexors, when bigger, actually correlates to faster sprint times. Now, I'll be doing a whole separate video on the hip flexors and how to strengthen them, so make sure to subscribe and look out for that, all right? Now, let's finally get to the exercises. As you guys can see in this video, I have the bands around my feet and I'm bringing my knees up while making sure my arms follow, as if I'm actually sprinting. This just teaches your body and your central nervous system the functions of sprinting while also strengthening the hip flexors. I'm doing the exercise with some speed, but you can do it much faster depending on where you're at in terms of fitness level. If you're just starting out, make sure to use lighter bands and do 3 sets of 20. Now, you don't have to be stationary when you're doing this exercise. You can actually move forward as well. I just chose to stay stationary. It's really up to you. Now, for exercise number 2, we have elevated squats. Now, you may say, but coach, why elevated squats and not regular squats? Well, the reason for elevated squats is because it actually mimics the forward movement of sprinting. Now, when you sprint, you're moving forward. So that's why it's very vital when you do exercises that actually mimic sprinting. For this exercise, you want to get 2 placed and rest your heels on them. As you can see, my knees are leaning forward, which is the forward movement I just spoke about. Another thing is I'm moving the weights as fast as I can in a safe manner. Again, this is to mimic the velocity your muscles go through when you're sprinting. As I said earlier, only use 60 to 70% of your max and do not go to failure. You want to do 3 sets of 5 to 10 reps. You want to do 5 to 10 reps because, as I mentioned earlier, you don't want to go to failure, and everyone has a different level of fitness. So I made the reps more broad depending on where you're at in terms of fitness. For exercise number 3, and I'm sure you've probably never seen this exercise before, but we have single leg power cleans. Now, we already know that power cleans are for increasing power and explosiveness. So what does sprinting do? Sprinting requires a lot of power and explosiveness. So doing single leg takes away the double leg part about it, and then you get to focus on just increasing single leg individual strength and power, which is why we're doing single leg power cleans. For this exercise, get a platform that's slightly below knee level. If you're first starting out, make sure to start off at a very low weight and slow until you get the movement down. You first have to teach your body how to do the movement, and then you can increase the weight and the speed of the movement. You first start off on one leg and drive the opposite leg onto the platform. You should really feel this in your posterior chain, which are made up of your hamstrings, glutes, and calves. For this exercise, I recommend doing 3 sets of 5 reps. For exercise number 4, we have weighted step-ups, which are one of my favorite exercises because they're so simple to do and you can do them almost anywhere. Now, you can do them with or without the weights. That's really up to you, and that's up to where you're at in terms of fitness level and how strong you are at the current moment. And again, another exercise that is single-legged. I'm sure you guys are starting to see a pattern here. Now, you don't need a platform this high, especially when you want to bring more speed into the exercise. But a higher platform engages your muscles more, but it does take away from the speed at which you can do it at. For this exercise, I recommend doing 3 sets of 8 reps. However, 1 set is when you do 8 reps on both legs. As you do this, really try to engage your core and keep upright, as you should for all exercises mentioned thus far. For exercise number 5, we have Romanian deadlifts or RDLs. Now RDLs are great for your hamstrings because they really target the area and they really strengthen it. Now your hamstrings have some of the highest percentage of fast twitch muscle fibers in them. And of course, sprinting is all about fast twitch muscle fibers. Another benefit of RDLs is the fact that it actually helps in preventing injuries. Now if you've noticed, a lot of injuries in sports tend to come from the hamstrings, and that's because they're usually pretty weak or they have muscle imbalances, and RDLs really help in that area. Now you can either do barbell RDLs or you can do dumbbell or kettlebell RDLs. Personally, for me, I like to do both of them. When I want to go heavy and really increase my strength, I'll do barbell because that requires both hands, both legs. Now when I do single leg RDLs, that means I really just want to work out the muscle imbalances that I may have or the strength differences that I may have between the 2 legs. As you can see, I'm doing the exercise with some speed, and that's only because the weight is very light. When you go heavy, take your time. You don't want to cause any injuries to your lower back. As I mentioned earlier, I also incorporate single leg RDLs. This is both great for strength, but also helps in making up the difference in strength between your 2 legs. As I mentioned earlier, your stronger side always carries more of the load, and you want to make sure you work on both legs equally. For barbell RDLs, I recommend doing 3 sets of 8, and for single leg RDLs, I recommend doing 3 sets of 10. And that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it and hope you guys liked it a lot. And if you did, please make sure to like and subscribe. Take care, peace, take it easy, y'all.